Hello there everybody, welcome back to live coverage of rounds 10, 11 and 12 of Season 1 of the 2014 BSR Carrera Cup here on iRacing. Scott Woodwis along with Marcus Naris and Carl Young guiding you through all the action here at our 3 races at Road America. We've had 1 down in the books, and after seeing Michael Booth lead for so long in race 1, he was denied the victory by Ben Tusting and then denied a podium place after he was tapped in the rear by Armano Iapalumbo, which then forced him down to 10th spot. But if there is some consolation for Michael to take from that, he does start race 2 from pole position. As they're currently in warm-up at the moment, we'll take you through the grid of how they're going to sit for race 2. In a second, there we go. Right, so reversing the top 10, as we do for race 2 and for race 3, Michael Booth then starts on pole position. Alongside him on the front row is going to be the 87 of Jamie Wilson. Row 2 is going to be Simon Trendle in the 33 and Angelo De Mella, the man in second place in the championship, in the 05. In row number 3, we're going to have James Yates in the 4 and Ricardo Schiavon in the 86. Row 4 is going to be Nick Tyson in the 9 and Anders Dahl in the 03, and then row 5 is the men that's finished in 2nd and 1st, of course, Armano Iapalumbo 9th and Ben Tusting, who will start from 10th. But of course, if his drive from Brands Hatch in race 3 is anything to go by, they won't have any trouble coming through the field cleanly and quickly. Let's just talk about what happened in race 1 then, some key points there. One thing we mentioned about the break, during the break, was Diego Comuni, of course, championship leader, finished in 19th in that race. It seems to me that he was by far in qualifying the fastest man. He was quickest in qualifying by about 0.3 of a second. Yet when it comes to the race, it seems to be that he doesn't handle pressure very well. I mean, guys, you know, Marcus, Carl, let's just get your thoughts on this one. Do you think that's the case? Do you think Comuni has got incredible speed, but just can't really control his nerves or his tempo, not his tempo in the race, once he's under pressure? Because it seems as though that's what's kind of holding him back from really getting a firm grasp on this championship.
Yeah, I think it's a setup, to be honest with you. I mean, as you correctly say, going into the Brands rounds, he was the clear championship leader. You know, and he got put under a lot of pressure at Brands very early in the races and found himself with a problem. You know, he spun once on his own, there was some contact, and it led to not a great evening for him. And again, we've seen that here. And I think, to be fair, you know, he runs a very, very loose set, and certainly for the first lap and a half, the tyres on these, you know, these machines, albeit simulated, that, you know, they're very, very cold. These things are quite hard to control, certainly if you try and get the power down too early. So, yeah, you know, I think the pressure is telling. I think you're spot on there, Scott. You know, he just feels a little bit nervous. I think he realises that if guys with racecraft at the level of, you know, certainly Tusting and Anders Dahl get in front of him, he's going to struggle to get back past them despite his superior pace. So, yeah, you know, he's making the odd mistake.
Yeah, I gotta agree with you there, Marcus. With it being so early in the race, you know, this is a very big track, and the race, you know, I think that last race took about 18 or 19 minutes, so you can afford to buy yourself some time if you need to. You know, you don't have to go guns a-blazing like you may have had to do last week at Brands Hatch with such a short track, and with completing the lap so quickly, the race goes by very fast. Not here. It takes these guys, as we're looking right here. Angelo De Mella is currently the fastest guy in warm-up right now at a 2-minute and 20-second lap. So, you know, that adds up. It's a fairly long lap. This is probably one of the biggest tracks that these guys are going to see all season long. So you can bide your time if you need to. Plus, with it being so big, is that you can very easily get spread out. So even if you're not the fastest guy, you know, you can really find a hole where you fit in. And with Diego Comuni's situation now, having issues here in the first race and having issues in I think at least 2 of the races last week at Brands Hatch, maybe that's what he needs to do, is just bide his time, find a hole where he can fit in, and just run smooth, consistent laps to get a good finish to get some points up on the board.
Now let's talk about Ben Tusting, of course. Won that race pretty convincingly. I mean, of course, what was quite surprising was the fact that he got into the lead and then just drove off into the distance, and which is absolutely incredible pace. We knew how strong he was across the season, of course, the races that we've seen him compete in, but to be able to pull out as much of a lead he did in that short space of time, but what, a lap and a half, was just sensational. I mean, Ben Tusting really is closing in. He came into this race weekend, he was about the gap. He's 25 points behind Anders Dahl. He's now close into what I think we calculated was roughly about what, 2 points now behind Angelo Di Mella. So, how likely is it, with the way that we know how good Ben is coming to the field, we know how good he is dealing with traffic, making overtakes, and then when he's in clear air, just use that space to his best abilities. How much of a chance does Ben Tusting have if results go his way for the other remaining two races we have here tonight at Road America? How much of a chance does he have of really putting himself incredibly close to Anders Dahl of a championship, providing that Anders doesn't score well also, and Angelo Di Mello as well?
As smart as Anders Dahl drives, I don't think he'll be close. I mean, we saw in that last race, you know, Anders was very, very happy to sit for 3 or 4 laps, make sure, you know, he had the car under him, make sure he was settled, and then, you know, as we mentioned in commentary, he just seemed to light up and start putting pressure on the guys in front. He's a smart guy. If he's under pressure from Tusting, he'll just let him past. He knows that there's only 1 point difference in those positions, and yeah, he's definitely racing with the championship in mind, not any particular race.
Yeah, it's very, very hard to gain on your championship competitors when they are doing just as well as you are. The biggest thing that he's just got to remember is that he can only control what he can do. He can't really control what Anders does. If he goes out there and has phenomenal races, finishes in the top 5 in all 3 races of the day, then he is going to have success. It just all depends on what Anders does.
Lights out, and we're racing for round 11 in the BSR Carrera Cup at Road America as they head down towards turn 1 for the very first time. Michael Peter looks as though he's got his nose in front as they head down towards the first corner and making their way into turn 1 for the first time. So I'll try and get a TV. If he looks at Michael Booth, has held the lead for the moment, it seems. And also got James Yates and Angelo Di Mello already moving through. So look at this. The 3 teammates literally line astern and literally creating a roadblock for Angelo Di Mello. They're not letting these GT Italia cars get anywhere near the front here at all, as Michael Booth, once again, as he was in race 1, just allowed to get through the carnage and be able to make his way through. So currently a very strong run, as I'm watching here, looking like, I think that's James Yates and Simon Trendle going side to side in turn 4. Underneath the Corvette bridge for the first time, and still they come through. Looking to see where exactly Ben Tusting is, if I can look on my screen. And he is currently sat back, I think, still in 10th. And what have you found?
Well, Booth just went off track there, coming off of turn number 6. It was lost quite a bit of time, and now he's got a mirror full of Jamie Wilson. So he's slipping up a little bit early here. He's regained his momentum here, and hopefully he can hang on. But I saw as he came off of turn number 5, he clipped the grass and got a little sideways, and then he ran off at the exit of turn number 6. So a few mistakes here going to cost him a little bit of time, but he's starting to open up the gap again over Jamie Wilson as they work into the bend for the first time.
Yeah, I think it's actually, sorry, I was just quickly, I think it's actually Simon Trendle in second place, actually, not Jamie Wilson. So a great start from Trendle to get second place for his teammate.
And if we look slightly further back down the field, Tusting and Dahl find themselves line astern as we anticipated, and they're putting Nick Tyson under huge pressure coming down into Canada corner. Interestingly, Dahl is showing no signs of attacking Tusting in front of him. But, you know, he knows all he needs to do is follow Ben through the pack, and you know, he may lose 1 or 2 points by the end of the evening, but he's certainly not going to relinquish his championship lead.
Standing up on my screen, but controls now racing a bit laggy on my screen. Let's try to get it up, and let's have a look. So down they come once again. Booth still leads, Trendle second, Wilson in third, Yates in fourth, then the 2 GT Italia cars, Tyson in 7th, Tusting's up 2 places to 8th, Dahl in 9th, and then Palumbo rounds out the top 10. So, and they're already starting to pull away and have their own race from the rest of the field. So these guys are definitely the class of fielders. I'm seeing now, I think that's now Wilson trying to look to the outside of his teammate Trendle into turn 4, thinks about a move, runs slightly deep into the corner. That now allows Yates to get a move. As I can see, I think also Tusting's made a move on Nick Tyson, he has. So look at already then, Tusting marching his way towards the front once again into 7th place. And now he's got the 2 GT Italian cars in his crosshairs, in his sights, to try and get himself back up through the field and try and provide a bit more support, as all 4 of his FT9 craft cars running incredibly strongly this weekend at the moment in Road America.
Yeah, and if Tusting can find his way past the 2 GT Italia cars in front of him, I think we'll be in multi-21 territory. I don't think for a second that the 3 FT9 craft guys currently occupying 2nd, 3rd and 4th place will put up any resistance to Tusting. So really, you know, he's got to make 2 passes and then he'll be effectively in 2nd place in this race.
Yeah, that could definitely be what happens here. That team did a phenomenal job of running very, very consistent places in that first race, all 4 of them finishing in the top 10, and now this lines up hugely for the points. If they can continue to do this, and like you said, Marcus, if Ben does get by, you know, these guys know that Ben won that first race. He may be the fastest of the group, even though they are teammates, so they could just let him right on by and continue that. And who knows, maybe if this run is as good as it's looking right now, they can get all 4 of their drivers into the top 5 in race number 2. How exciting would that be for those guys?
Absolutely, just looking back as well, it's incredible the top 10 have broken away. It's such an alarming rate, as Luigi Nespolina, the man who was in contention for a victory back at Brands Hatchin, I think in race 2 or race 3, he's now got past Paul Thurston for 11th place, and he's now starting his charge towards this pack to make it an 11-car battle for points positions. But back at the Jamie Wilson and James Yates in 3rd and 4th. Then Skierbon leads the GT Italia charge from De Mella in 6th position. Tusting in 7th and keeping a close watching eye, with Tyson now holding station ahead of Anders Dahl in 9th, with Palumbo in 10th, and Nespolino trying to close that gap. He's got about 3 seconds to make up on 10th placed Armando I Palumbo. So down the back straight towards turn 4 they come into the braking zone. You can see Trendell visibly closer. He came across the line just a fraction under 0.6 of a second behind the number 911 machine. That's up towards the Corvette bridge once again. They come to the crest and then turn left and then head towards this very fast kink, which is, I believe, called on my screen, my page, what my laptop decides to catch up. Hurry downs and then towards turns 8 and 9 before they get towards the long right-hander of the carousel. So at the moment so far, trouble-free for Michael Booth, but I guess the one we have to keep an eye on is going to be Ben Tusting in 7th place. It's all crucial as to how quickly he can get around those GT Italia cars if possible. And those guys are already starting to put James Yates under pressure. So it looks as though already we've got possibly some imminent position changes between GT Italia and FT9 craft.
Yeah, and I'm not sure if it is there was a mistake somewhere, but James Yates has certainly dropped off the tail of Jamie Wilson ever so slightly, the 2 FT9 craft drivers. And it looks to me a little bit like he's starting to back the GT Italia guys up a little bit. I may be doing them an extreme disservice here. He might have just put a wheel on the grass or something, but there's certainly a gap, and he's certainly backed them into Ben Tusting's clutches to a certain extent.
Yeah, indeed, he has, and Tusting's got a river middle full of competition himself. He's got, I believe that was at one point Nick Tyson. I want to say that's Anders Dahl right now.
It is Anders Dahl.
It is Anders Dahl. So he's coming back up through the field. He finished in the top 5 in that last race and was there to contend for that 2nd spot towards the end of that run. So it'll be interesting to see here if Dahl actually gets around Ben Tusting. It'll be very interesting to see how these two stack up against each other. Right now the gap as they just crossed the line looks to be about a half a second between the two of them as they work their way down into turn number 1. Tusting peeked to the inside there to give maybe a bit of wear for Angelo De Mello, just to let him know that he's there and looking for position, as he now pulls right up to the back bumper, working their way into turn number 2. So Ben Tusting starting to close in on that first GT Italia driver and looks to make a move here soon.
I think what's really incredible, we've got 9 cars all only separated by 4.5 seconds. It's a fantastic race we've got so far up at the front. These top 9 and top 10 drivers are just literally in a class of their own right now. It's such an awesome spectacle as they turn their way back through turn 4, and it's still Booth who leads, with Simon Trundle now has Jamie Wilson all over the back of him. And I can see that Ben Tusting has got himself amongst the GT Italia cars. He looks like he is around Angelo De Mello, so he's up into 6th position, and only has to dispatch a skier on number 19 to get himself onto the tail of his 3 teammates. And Anders Dahl is also going to try and make that move as well, as I can see Tusting's already thinking about a pass on Skiervon into turns 8 and 9. And then now round the carousel once again underneath the big bridge and through this long right-hander. And Booth now holding on with a gap of roughly around 3/4 of a second. But you can see now the FT9 Craft guys all starting to stack up a little bit, and I wonder if that's just to compromise a little bit the run that Skiervon's trying to make here. And what's interesting, Skiervon's now got a 5-car train that he's leading. Skiervon, De Melle, then Skiervon, Tusting, De Melle, Dahl and Palumbo are all in there. And you'll also notice that the guy that was trying to come up, another one of the GT Italia cars, Luigi Nespolino, has headed for the pits. Looks like he either made some contact with somebody or has hit the barrier somewhere. But he is now dropped right down the field to 22nd place. So he is really in some problem. In fact, he might have dropped even further because he was heading for pit road. But
there we go. It's Tusting's got past. Skiervon put a wheel on the grass, trying to drive a very, very defensive line coming out of Canada corner. Wheel in the gravel, sorry, loss of traction, and while trying to defend so hard, he left the door open and Tusting's through.
Indeed he is. That'll put him up to the 6th spot. Now he's got his 3 teammates, or actually the 5th spot, excuse me. And that'll put his 3 teammates out in front of him. It'll be interesting to see what they do and how they react to Ben now that they are all in the top 5 and Ben is behind them. It should be a very entertaining thing to watch here, see if Ben can race with them. And actually, it looks like they're racing amongst each other right now for the 3rd spot. Looks like Jamie Wilson went on by Simon Trendell. Actually, it looks like they all may have, no, I think, yeah, Simon Trendell dropped from 2nd to 4th.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard to check these guys out running all the same paint schemes, but a little bit of some emotion going on amongst them, and that's allowing Michael Booth to slowly increase his lead. He's up to 1.1 seconds right now. He's only been gaining a few tenths on these guys a lap, but just enough to extend it out and make these guys have to run him down a little bit.
Yeah, Trendell ran wide at turn 1, which allowed these guys to all close up again. Look at this wonderful sight. All 4 of the FG9 Craft machines line astern. I think that the team will be rubbing their hands back in the garage as Tusting now decides to carve his way through his teammates. He's first made everyone Trendell down into turns 8 and 9, but he was a little too deep and runs wide over the gravel and almost lets Skiervon back on the outside. In fact, he has to concede the line and the place as a result. Tusting's not going to give it up. He's coming back up the inside and the start watching on once again. Oh, contact between Skiervon and Tusting. Skiervon goes around in the middle of the pack. And Tusting's got around as well. Skiervon just keeps it out of the barriers, and also I think it was that Nespolino around. Those De Melle around as well. So 2 of the GT Italia cars and Tusting have both gone around all as a result of that contact. Tusting's got back going again, and someone else has got us, Palumbo. Palumbo has gone with contact now. Is that with De Melle again?
Another one of his teammates.
It's De Melle again, so De Melle's been involved in 2 separate incidents. One with his, I believe possibly as a result of avoiding his teammate, and then again with Palumbo. So the top 10 just starting to fall apart here.
Yeah, and I'm just looking at the replay now from Ben Tusting's point of view, and it's just one of those things. I don't think we could assign any blame to anybody there. You know, Tusting came a little bit off the apex through the carousel as it tightened, and certainly, you know, the GT Italia car behind him just got a little bit tight. But then going into the kink, De Melle and Palumbo just got together. They just hit one another, with Skiervon already heading for the pit lane after his contact with Tusting.
And with that incident there with those 2 GT Italia cars, that's only going to cost Tusting 1 spot in the running order. He was 5th at that last time by, moved into 4th and made the mistake. He's now currently running in 6th with Anders Dahl, the only guy in front of him, separating him from his teammates. As now after that last time by, I think that battling there amongst those that team there with Simon Trendell dropping from 2nd to 4th going to cost them some time, as they're now 2.5 seconds behind Michael Booth. And I'm sure Michael is up there. He's got quite a big smile on his face now. Probably this helps him heal that wound from that first race, as he is slowly pulling away from these guys, and the race is all in his hands right now.
A little bit of oversteer on the exit of coming underneath the exit of the underneath the Corvette bridge, but he's still just pushing on to try and make it. It's always sliding again, so whether or not Booth has maybe overcooked his tire a little bit, or maybe just taking getting a bit too complacent and just hanging the tail out a bit too much. But Booth now has a wonderfully comfortable lead of about 2.5 seconds, but Jamie Wilson in the 87 is still there or thereabouts. Of course, he's bringing with him James Yates, and just in the back, a little bit further back, Simon Trendell. Now, Anders, and also Diego Comini. Remember, we've completely forgotten about him. Started 19th and has charged up to 8th position, so he's only 13 seconds off the lead. Diego Comini with 21, we'd almost forgotten about him, but the championship leader still, and the fact that he's not the championship, he's down in around the top 10, but the man who was really in contention for the championship going into Brands Hatch has now charged his way back up to 8th spot, and he's looking to try and go further. But he's 7th now, he's gone around Paul Thurston, so he's going further still.
Yeah, and out of all of that, the guy licking his lips is Anders Dahl. The racer that doesn't seem interested in racing, you know, he's just driven his own race, hasn't got involved in any silly business as he sees another FT9 craft car in front of him. I'm not sure who that was, but two FT9 craft cars got into one another coming out of the final turn, and that puts Anders Dahl up into 4th place now, with Ben Tusting now 2 places behind him, and Dahl only 0.7 of a second behind James Yates in 3rd.
Yeah, that was Simon Trendell there who went off track there in turn number 14. And Anders Dahl, he's got a lot of he's got some traffic in front of him, but he has got a lot of room behind him here as these guys have less than 2 laps to go, trying to run down James Yates and take that bottom step of the podium away from him. He's definitely within reach using these straightaways. He might be able to use some draft and just try to catch up to him and see what he can do. Unless he makes a move on Yates fairly quickly, I don't see him catching Jamie Wilson. But he is the points leader, so it's kind of hard to doubt the points leader of doing anything special as he closes in really, really good through turn 5. Gets a great run on James Yates. He closes in a few car lengths there and trying to chase him down.
One thing we should note is just have to take a look at Diego Comini's car, number 21 in 7th place. He is carrying front end damage, so he's running at a very competitive pace, even with sustaining a little bit of remodelling on the front of that rough T12 C-Spec car. But he is running in a very strong 7th place, and incredibly, he's come up 12 spots. Not as great as the drive that Ben Tusting had. Of course, Tusting himself is now having to deal with the fact that Comini is closing in, so effectively he will be under pressure, I'm pretty sure, at some point on the final lap from Comini. Speaking of pressure, Anders Dahl really has just eradicated that gap between himself and James Yates, and he's really closed in as he's now staring at the back of that FT9 craft car as they head through turns 10A and B, and the exit he gets, but he's forced into a mistake. Yates goes wide on the exit of 10B, and Anders Dahl says, "Thank you very much, James, I'll put myself onto the podium." And he is now going to really charge through. Now then, the question is, surely he hasn't got enough pace to catch up to Jamie Wilson in 2nd place. He is starting to pull away already as they head into Canada Corner, but of course they're going to come off the final lap, and it does mean that Michael Booth, provided he can keep it onto the black stuff, is going to make it our 10th winner from 11 races. And guys, that's pretty incredible to see 10 different winners in 11 races in this Carrera Cup. That's an astounding figure we've had so far.
Yeah, and I certainly hope he can hang on up front. I mean, Michael Booth deserves this. As I said in the first race commentary, you know, he's a good racer. He knows his way around a powerful rear-wheel drive car. Certainly within iRacing, he races many of them. And after what happened to him in race 1, there's certainly an element of justice in Michael Booth taking this win if indeed he can hang on.
Yeah, it really is incredible to see so many different winners in all of these races, and I really think that top 10 invert has a lot to do with it. Puts some people who just peaked into the top 10, gives them a shot to run up front, and it makes the racing really, really interesting. And it just shows how competitive that this series truly is, and that if you came here to race, you've got a lot of good drivers to have to deal with. You don't really see one driver or a handful of drivers who really steal the show each and every week. It's pretty much a wide range of very, very good drivers who have been very, very strong throughout this entire season so far. And now it's Michael Booth's turn to taste victory in half a lap if he can hang on.
Yeah.
Now something. Yeah, I was actually, sorry, I'm not sure if you're going to mention that, Marcus, but watching Diego Comini, interesting enough, he is dropping back to the field. Now, I think this is tactical because the guy just behind him, Angelo Di Mello, is in 10th. Now, if he lets Angelo through, of course, what will this mean for Diego? He's going to get pole position for race 3. So this could be quite tactical here for Diego Comini.
Yeah, he let the... I was watching it, I was going to comment on it, you beat me to it. I've been watching it from his point of view, and he let the 2 Epicuri banana cars past.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Some very interesting strategy going on there from the...
Yeah, I'm not sure I'm a fan of that, I'll be honest with you, but, you know, it is what it is. They know what the rules are, and they're obviously going to take advantage of them as much as possible to get the best starting position they can.
It definitely is a very interesting strategy for sure, and if he does end up going through with it, it will give him a little bit of redemption after that first race there. He started on pole in that one and made a mistake, so if he can... it'll be interesting to see what he does here. He hasn't given it up yet if he plans on it. He's only got a few turns left. But either way, he's going to be right up on that front row with his teammate, Angelo DeMella, as long as, I believe that's Stephen Hugh, doesn't get around DeMella there and ruin it.
Well, as you said, that Michael Booth has crossed the line, so he wins race 2 here at Road America, and he takes it by 3.4 seconds, so that makes him now the 10th different winner in 11 races in this incredible BSR Carrera Cup. Jamie Wilson grabs second, 3.4 seconds back. Anders Dahl is third, which means he solidifies his championship lead, while his championship rivals around him fell by the wayside. James Yates gets 4th, Simon Trendell finishes in 5th place. Ben Tustin looks like he's going to hold on to 6th position, I think, if we can look at him on the screen. Yes, he has. Gary Toole 7th. Paul Thurston is going to start, is finishing in 8th position. Diego Comini, interestingly, does not drop back to 10th. He stays 9th. DeMella in 10, which means it is going to be an all GT Italia front row for race 3. Which means that also the man that just missed out on pole position, Stefan Hug, finishing in 11th spot. Emmanuel Palumbo dropped all the way back to 12th, so he dropped off right near the end. Matt Malone in the 703 finishes in 13th spot, ahead of Patrice Longley in 14th. Adam Powell finishing 15th in the 235. Bradley Selmes 16th in the 13. 17th goes to Tyan Dames. Ellis Stevens 18th in the 11. And then Clark Preck in the 717 19th. And rounding out the top 20 is Robert Venn in the 017. So another incredibly action-packed race. We saw the top 10 pull away quite a lot. But of course, in the end, it was Michael Booth who just kept it calm and took a literally lights to flag victory. He was challenged a couple of times, but in the end, he does make it his first victory in the championship. So that pretty much wraps up the coverage for race 2. Of course, we still have one more to go. So as before, if you head back to the main BSR TV page, click the link for what is round 12. And of course, myself, Marcus and Carl will join you in just a few minutes. Stay tuned.